Hello there, very good morning and welcome to the Breakfast News, where we get you updated on the news that's developed through the night and also introduce you to the big stories of the day. I'm Tracy Shilshi and here are the headlines. GST rates revised for 29 goods and 53 categories of services. Many handicraft items not to attract any tax. New changes applicable from the 25th of January. Final list of 10 cities to be funded under the Centre's Smart City Mission to be announced today. A total of 100 cities being given 500 crore rupees central assistance each for implementing projects. Benjamin Netanyahu wraps up a 6-day India visit with a star-studded event with Bollywood bigwigs in Mumbai. Hails a great friendship between India and Israel. Nepal tense after protests over naming of 7 provincial capitals by the newly formed government. Curfew imposed in several areas after protesters set government buildings on fire. And Indian players advance in the Australian Open. Leander Paes and Purav Rajya and the Indo-American pair of Divij Sharan and Rajiv Ram progressed to the second round of the men's doubles. Rohan Bopanna and French partner to play their match today. Our top story this morning, the GST Council approved rate changes for 29 goods and 53 categories of services on Thursday. The revised rates will be applicable from the 25th of January. Rates on LPG for household domestic consumers by private LPG players, scientific and technical instruments have been reduced from 18 to 5%. GST rates on drinking water packed in 20 litres bottle, biodiesel and drip irrigation system have been reduced from 18 to 12%. Vibhuti, parts of hearing aids and de-oiled rice bran have been placed under the nil category, and many handicraft items will also not attract any tax to protect jobs in the handmade industry. Rates on cigarette filter rods have been increased from 12 to 18% though. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley also said that there was a general consensus on simplifying the return filing process, where GSTR 3B will continue, but a final decision would be taken in the next council meet. GST provision requiring transporters to carry an electronic way bill or e-way bill when moving goods of over 50,000 rupees in value between states will be implemented from the 1st of February.
In the services, there were some categories which were actually explanatory in nature. So these 29 goods and eventually 53 categories of services were accepted, and the new rates for these will all come into force from the 25th of January.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu leaves for Israel this morning after a successful 6-day visit to India, where he signed 9 pacts with India and attended events in Delhi, Gujarat and Mumbai, and also visited the Taj Mahal. On the last leg of a 6-day visit to India, the Israeli Prime Minister had a packed schedule in Mumbai, from meeting business leaders, paying tribute to the 26/11 victims, to meeting 11-year-old Moshe Holzberg, whose parents were killed in that attack. Here are all the details of that.
On the last leg of his 6-day India visit, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was in Mumbai on Thursday. His day began with a power breakfast with the country's top business leaders at the iconic Taj Hotel. Top industrialists, businessmen and top banking officials, including Ajay Piramal, Rahul Bajaj, Aarti Godrej, Harsh Goenka, Anand Mahindra, Dilip Sangvi, Ashok Hinduja, Atul Punj and Chanda Kochar were in attendance. During his interaction with the business leaders, Netanyahu said the partnership between Israel and India was doing wonders.
I will say beyond that the partnership between Israel and India is wonders.
After the breakfast, Netanyahu addressed the India-Israel Business Summit at the same venue, saying that India and Israel are two innovation nations that must come together to seize the future. Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis also attended the summit.
The future belongs to those who innovate. Israel is an innovation nation. India is an innovation nation. We must be innovation nations to seize the future. If we don't, we'll fall back. If we do, we'll define the future. We can do so better together.
Netanyahu also hailed the strong bond that he shares with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. After the summit, Fadnavis hosted a lunch for Netanyahu and his delegation, which was followed by a wreath-laying ceremony at the 26/11 Memorial at Marine Lines and paid tribute to the victims of the 2008 terror attack. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu then visited Nariman House, where he met 11-year-old Moshe Holzberg, the then 2-year-old who survived the 26/11 attack at Hobart House in South Mumbai. His parents were gunned down on that fateful night. In the evening, Netanyahu met around 30 members of the Jewish community at the Taj Hotel. There are about 5,000 Jews in India, most of who call Mumbai their home. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And Netanyahu wrapped up his 6-day tour to India in style with a star-studded Bollywood event in Mumbai. Netanyahu posed with Bollywood superstars at the Shalom Bollywood event in Mumbai as a sign of the great friendship between India and Israel. Top stars and filmmakers from Bollywood were present at the event, including Amitabh Bachchan, Aishwarya Rai Bachchan, Abhishek Bachchan, Johar, Vivek Oberoi, Sara Ali Khan, filmmaker Imtiaz Ali, Madhur Bhandarkar, Nikhil Advani, Subhash Ghai and lyricist Prasoon Joshi, among others. Aishwarya Rai Bachchan, along with producer Ronnie Screwwala, welcomed the Prime Minister and the First Lady of Israel, Sarah Netanyahu. Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis was also present at the event.
I used to think I was a big deal. And then I found out that Amitabh Bachchan has 30 million more Twitter followers than I do. And I added up the followings of all the other Bollywood stars who are here tonight. And let's just say, you guys are a big deal. And the reason for that is that the world loves Bollywood. And Israel loves Bollywood. I love Bollywood. And we put forward a modest sum of 4 million shekels to begin with. And I want to make a pledge tonight. If you come and you need more, we'll put in more. We want Bollywood in Israel.
And now to news from the geopolitical conference Raisina dialogue that concluded in New Delhi on Thursday. At a time when Pakistan is getting isolated on the issue of terrorism, Russia has openly backed Pakistan, calling it a victim of terrorism. The assertion by the Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Igor Mogilov has thrown up a new debate on the changing geopolitical scenario in the subcontinent.
Is Russia looking at a strategic opportunity of a Russia-China-Pakistan grouping versus U.S.
Stating that Russia has provided helicopters to Pakistan in its fight against terrorists, Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Igor Morgulov on Thursday claimed that it is a victim of terrorism.
We provide support to Pakistan to improve its counterterrorism capabilities. We sold several helicopters to Pakistan, to help them to fight and to help them to provide to have their own counter-terrorist operations. You know that Pakistan is also suffering from terrorist attacks.
The statement was countered by Zalmay Mamozi Khalilzad, a former U.S. ambassador to Afghanistan, Iraq, Russia and the UN.
While the U.S. is trying to pressurize Pakistan, India supports us and others. Russia is seeing an opportunity to take advantage of that Pakistan's potential isolation.
India has already expressed concern at the open support to Pakistan by China and its supply of helicopters by it.
What is Pakistan facing today? It's facing results of this support extremism that it jumped in for. And more it supports extremism, more the dangers of going downhill.
Russia is basically signaling, trying to signal its own displeasure or concerns about the growing US-India partnership and the recognition, as I've just mentioned, of India as a major defense partner. And they think that this is a direct challenge to the India-Russia defense partnership.
Expressing a different view, former Afghan President Hamid Karzai said, although 90% of Pakistan's weapons are still American, Russian involvement could throw open a new dimension altogether.
Russia is an important factor in our region, and the Russian influence towards bringing a solution to the question of terrorism is a welcome one, and we hope they will do all they can to bring us to that.
Russia is our oldest ally, and we have to have concerted talks with Russia on these issues. In changing geopolitics, such type of irritants come, but we have to resolve it through consistent talks. Akhilesh Suman for Rajya Television with camera person Prasanto in Delhi.
Meanwhile, the Ministry of External Affairs has said that status quo has not been altered at Doklam, where Indian and Chinese troops were locked in a standoff for over 2 months last year. Responding to repeated questions about any change in the status quo, External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Ravish Kumar said, and I quote, "Our attention has been drawn to some reports that question the accuracy of the position stated by the government in respect to the situation in Doklam. The government would once again reiterate that the status quo at the face of sight has not been altered. Any suggestion to the contrary is inaccurate and mischievous," unquote. Now, Kumar's remarks come in the wake of media reports about China carrying out some infrastructure development in the disputed region. Now to one of the stories we'll keep an eye out on today. The final list of the 10 smart cities for funding under the centre's flagship Smart City mission will be announced today. The announcement will be made by the Minister of State for Housing and Urban Affairs, Hardeep Puri. The 100th Smart Cities mission was launched by Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the 25th of June 2015. The Housing and Urban Affairs Ministry has till now announced the names of 90 cities that the government aims to help under this scheme. Under the scheme, each city will get 500 crore rupees as central assistance for implementing various projects. The Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas launched the round 1 of bidding of 55 oil and gas blocks. Bids have been invited under Open Acreage Licensing Program for international competitive bidding. This is the first bid round in 8 years that will offer a record area for prospecting of oil and gas. The 55 blocks have a total area of 59,282 square kilometers. The bid allows companies to carve out blocks of their choice in promising basins. Petroleum Minister Dharmendra Pradhan also launched an e-bidding portal using which bids can be made for these oil and gas blocks from anywhere in the world. A quick break here. Up next, we'll get you some more national stories and also the top international stories.
Ghata, one of the oldest and most unique percussion instruments of southern India. You can play it not only with your fingers, but palms, wrists and heels as well. You'll be surprised, but the air inside the ghatam reverberates, creating the musical notes. 5 elements of nature, earth, water, air, fire and space make up the composition of this beautiful musical piece, which has found an apt place in most of the ancient books.
Welcome back. The Election Commission of India has announced single-phase elections to assemblies of Tripura, Meghalaya and Nagaland in February. All 3 states have 60-member houses. They're among the 8 states that are going to polls this year. The Election Commission announcement brings into effect the model code of conduct in all the 3 states. Here's a report.
The Election Commission of India announced the polling schedule for 3 northeastern states, Tripura, Meghalaya and Nagaland on Thursday. The 3 northeast states are among 8 in the country that will go to polls in 2018. Tripura will vote on February 18th, while Meghalaya and Nagaland will go to polls on February 27th.
First round Tripura elections would be held. Gazette notification 24 January 18. Last date of nomination 31st January. Scrutiny would be on 1st February 18. Withdrawal of candidate is up to 3rd February 18, Saturday. And date of polling would be 18th February 2018. Meghalaya and Nagaland, Gazette notification would be issued on 31st January, that is Wednesday. Last date for nominations is 7th February 18, which is also Wednesday. Scrutiny would take place on 8th February, that is Thursday. And last date for withdrawal of candidature would be 12th February 18, which would be Monday. The date of polling would be 27th February, that is Tuesday.
The Election Commission also said that VVPAT will be used along with EVMs during polling in all 3 states. With the announcement of poll dates, the Model Code of Conduct has also come into force.
In order to facilitate and ensure secrecy of voting, the height of the voting compartment has been increased from 24 inch to 30 inch. That was done in earlier elections also. We are continuing with these 3 state elections also. As far as electronic voting machines are concerned and voter verifiable paper audit trail, that is VVPAT, the VVPAT, EVMs and VVPAT shall be used in all the polling stations in the 3 states of Meghalaya, Nagaland and Tripura.
The counting of votes for all the 3 states will be held on 3rd March. The tenure of Meghalaya, Nagaland and Tripura assemblies expire on March 6th, March 13 and March 14, 2018 respectively. All 3 states have 60 seats each. The Meghalaya Assembly is currently led by the Congress, which won 29 seats in the previous election. Tripura, on the other hand, is under a CPIM government. The Naga People's Front is at the helm of the 60-member Nagaland Assembly. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu has exhorted India's exporters to focus on new markets and new products. Addressing the exporters after conferring the FIEO Exports Excellence Awards 2018 in Chennai, Vice President Naidu said that they must pay attention to products which show higher growth in global trade, including electric, electronic and telecommunication equipments. The Vice President added that government's Make in India initiative to support India's manufacturing sector, together with its focus on infrastructure growth and multiple initiatives for boosting domestic demand, will further strengthen the economy. He further said that policy decisions like demonetization and GST will have a positive impact on the economy in the coming years, and that the government was ready to address problems faced by the exporters.
Friends, what I am suggesting is that we must find out what are the other avenues of exports, where our imports have become less and exports become more. We should think on those. There is no dearth of knowledge and talent here. The Make in India, the Skill India, the Digital India, the Clean India, VCDC program, or the Stand Up, or the Startup. All these programs are aimed at releasing the forces of growth, unleashing the forces of the growth among the people.
The Vice President has also said that untouchability is the real enemy of humanity and helping the poor is real patriotism. The Vice President addressed the All India Telugu Association event in Chennai, commemorating the 258th birth anniversary of Veerapandiya Kattabomman and the 250th Jayanti of Sadguru Tyagaraja on Thursday. Addressing the event, the Vice President said that India has always celebrated diversity and plurality. He said that Indians have been particularly sensitive to the linguistic and cultural needs of minority groups. Vice President Naidu also called on the youth to take full advantage of opportunities available in the country and help the country by creating jobs. He also said that one must protect and preserve the best traditions in our culture. The 8th annual National Conclave of Bharatiya Chhatra Sansad, or the Indian Student Parliament, will begin at the Swami Vivekanand Sabha Mandap in MIT World Peace University campus in Pune. HRD Minister Prakash Javadekar, Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis and Colonel Rajavardhan Rathore, the MOS of Youth Affairs and Sports, will be the chief guests of the event. The conclave this year is expecting over 8,000 participants across the country. In the conclave, students will deliberate and interact with 6 speakers of different legislative assemblies and councils, 2 chief ministers, 4 union ministers, 35 keynote speakers, 12 MLAs, 6 vice chancellors and 6 sarpanches. Meanwhile, 7 girls and 11 boys will be conferred with the National Bravery Awards. Altogether, 18 children, including 7 girls, have been selected for the National Bravery Awards 2017 by the Indian Council of Child Welfare. Among them, 3 of the awards will be given posthumously. These brave children will join the Republic Day parade, and Prime Minister Modi will award these gallantry awards on the occasion. Also, the selected children will be given medals, certificates and cash prizes. This time, in the category of awards, the coveted Bharat Award goes to 16-year-old Nazia from Uttar Pradesh. She showed courage in collecting evidence against illegal business of gambling and betting and passed on information to the police, which led to the arrest of all the people involved in the racket.
अब तक हम कम से कम 900 बच्चों को ये पुरस्कार दे चुके हैं और इसकी भिन्न भिन्न राशियां हैं। जैसे सबसे प्रथम पुरस्कार जो है वो भरत अवार्ड है, जिसकी राशि है 40,000 और उसके अलावा जब बच्चे उसके बाद भरत अवार्ड के बाद है आपका संजय चोपड़ा अवार्ड, फिर गीता चोपड़ा और 3 बापू गायधानी अवार्ड हैं और उसके बाद जनरल अवार्ड्स हैं। तो इस बार हम लोगों ने 18 बच्चों को अवार्ड दिए हैं और इनमें इन बच्चों ने बहुत साहसपूर्ण कार्य किया है।
हाँ, ये हुआ था कि मैं आगरे में रहती हूँ और मेरे जो बराबर में सट्टा जुआ चरस का काम होता था और अब से नहीं 40-50 साल पुराना काम था ये, और वो बंद नहीं हुआ और सबको पता थी वहाँ के ये काम गैरकानूनी होते हैं। वहाँ निकलने में भी प्रॉब्लम होती थी, आए दिन भीड़ इकट्ठी रहती थी, बेटियाँ निकलती नहीं थी, महिलाएँ निकलती नहीं थी। ये हुआ था। फिर मुझे रानी लक्ष्मीबाई वीरता पुरस्कार मिला था। उसके फिर मेरे आस पड़ोसी दुकानदारों ने कहा तुम्हें इतना बड़ा अवार्ड मिला है, रानी लक्ष्मीबाई वीरता पुरस्कार से सम्मानित, तो हो सकता है प्रशासन आपकी सुने। जब पूरी सुनवाई हुई मेरी, बाद में जब मैंने अपने बारे में बताया अधिकारियों में सब कुछ और वीडियो दिखाई, फोटोज़ दिखाए वहाँ के गैरकानूनी काम के, तो मुझे प्रशासन ने हेल्प भी मिली और वो काम आज बंद है।
And now let's get the international news. And in Nepal, the situation remains tense, including the Terai region bordering India, after protests on Thursday over naming of the 7 provincial capitals. Clashes and violence were reported from several places, and curfew was imposed in the eastern city of Dhankuta, where dozens were injured in clashes between protesters and security forces. Protesters had also set fire on government buildings, including the High Court and a hospital. The newly formed government had on Wednesday named the governors of the 7 provinces and selected the provincial capitals as part of efforts to put in place the provincial assemblies and governments elected in December. Fixing the provincial capitals is essential for administering the oath of office and secrecy to the newly elected lawmakers and chief ministers in the new provinces. Birganj, a key city along the border with India too, was tense after government refused to name the city as the capital of province number 2. 2 Madhes-based parties are set to form government in this province. The nearby district of Bara too was totally shut down by protesters, while in Doti district more than a dozen people were injured when protesters and security personnel clashed. China's economy picked up steam in 2017 and grew at 6.9% year-on-year, surpassing domestic and global projections. Official data released on Thursday show that China's GDP growth rate eclipsed the official estimates of around 6.5% and even crossed 6.7% witnessed in 2016, reversing the downtrend of the world's second-largest economy since 2010. The National Bureau of Statistics data show that GDP totaled about $12.84 trillion in 2017, with the service sector accounting for more than half of the total. Consumption was the major driver, contributing 58.8% to the growth last year, showing progress of the government's efforts to rejig the economy from being export-driven to that of the one depending on consumption. The data also showed that China's industrial output registered 6.6% growth year-on-year in 2017, rising from 6% in 2016. The IMF had projected that the Chinese economy would grow at 6.8% in 2017 and 6.5% this year, while the World Bank had estimated 6.7% in 2017. All right, now heading to sports news, an Indian cricket team captain Virat Kohli has been named the World Cricketer of the Year at the ICC Annual Awards announced in Dubai. This is the second time that Kohli has won the award, having won it earlier in 2012. Kohli also bagged the top honour among ODI players. In the qualification period from 21st September 2016 to the end of last year, Kohli scored 2,203 runs in 18 tests. He also scored 1,818 runs in 31 ODIs. In the 2020s, Kohli made 299 runs at a strike rate of 153 in 10 matches. Taking to Twitter, Sachin Tendulkar, Ashwin Ravichandran, Suresh Raina and many others congratulated the Indian captain for the award.
means a lot to me to win Sir Garfield Sobers Trophy for becoming the ICC Cricketer of the Year 2017 and also ICC ODI Player of the Year. I won that back in 2012 also, but this is the first time I'm winning the Sir Garfield Sobers Trophy, and it's a huge honor for me. It's probably the biggest award we have in world cricket, and two Indians getting it back to back makes it more special. Last time it was Ash, this time I'm getting it, so I'm really honored, and I want to thank ICC for recognizing all the hard work that we all put in for our respective sides, and I want to congratulate all the other winners also.
Well, it comes at a good time when he was facing flack about losing to South Africa in the second test. Meanwhile, the ICC Under-19 World Cup match between India and Zimbabwe is underway at Mount Maunganui. In fact, opting to bat first, Zimbabwe has scored 81 runs for 3 wickets with batsmen Milton Shumba and Liam Nicholas Rocha at the crease. India has qualified for the ICC Under-19 World Cup quarterfinals after beating Australia and Papua New Guinea. And in the Australian Open, 6-time champion Novak Djokovic of Serbia beat Guillermo Fils of France 4-6, 6-3, 6-1, 6-3 to reach the third round. Djokovic will now face Albert Ramos Vinolas of Spain. Unseeded Indian player of pair of Leander Paes and Purav Raja defeated Georgian-Austrian pair of Nicholas Basilashvili and Andreas Heider-Maurer 6-2, 6-3 to enter the second round. The Indian duo will next face Britain's Jamie Murray and Brazil's Bruno Soares on Saturday. Also in the men's doubles, Indo-American pair of Divij Sharan and Rajiv Ram progressed to the second round, while Rohan Bopanna and French Edouard Roger-Vasselin will play their round 2 match today. In the women's singles draw, Maria Sharapova of Russia defeated her Latvian opponent Anastasia Sevastova 6-1, 7-6 to reach the next round. Sharapova will now face Angelique Kerber of Germany. That's all we could pack in on the breakfast news. Thank you for joining us. Have a good day ahead.